coming, the sun's zooming in, meltdown expected, the wheat is good there, engines stop running, but I have no fear, 'cause London is drowning. I live by the river.
Hello everybody and welcome to the By the Minute Arsenal podcast, our 73rd as we approach the end of our second season. It's quite incredible that we've got this far, but here we are, and we're trying some new technology this evening, so bear with us. We're hoping this will mean things sound better, but we can't guarantee it. But anyway, fingers crossed. If it all goes terribly wrong, you won't hear any of this if it's gone terribly wrong. So there we are. I am Matt H. I'm pleased to say we also have Matt V. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Two results to look back on. Two results which maybe weren't great, but performances which I think we can be relatively pleased for. I'm sure we'll come on to those.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'll be interested to know how people sort of approach these different things. I'm glad to say we also have Pete. Hello, Pete.
Hello, Matt. I'm a bit confused about why you and I seem to be about 20 miles apart, according to our little pictures.
It's good, isn't it? We're using a thing that tells people, for no obvious reason, where the people are. And me and Pete are probably, 2 miles perhaps as the crow flies, maybe less apart. Yeah. But the little map has us some distance further, which is quite odd. But there we are. We're being sidetracked. Let's not worry about that. Let's worry instead about the Europa League. And as indeed worrying might be the best emotion for that. I'm going to do things slightly differently this week. We're going to look back and look forward, as it were, with the Europa League first of all, and then we'll do the Premier League at the back end, as it were. Because last Thursday we played Atletico Madrid in the first leg of our Europa League semi-final. Drew 1-1. That doesn't really tell the story of the match at all. Lot to go through here. A dominant Arsenal performance, really, but just not reflected in the scoreline. And I fear we could very much regret that. We did take the lead just about on the hour mark, and then a bit of the sucker punch seemed to be the phrase everyone was using, and it's what I use in my report. So that was what we suffered when Griezmann went through to score with a few minutes left. I chatting to Matt before we start recording, I knew Pete was there. I didn't also know that Matt was there, so it will be good to get experience from both of you. So Matt, let's start with you on. We were talking about the atmosphere. What was it? You were impressed, and do you still have your free flag? Is the other question.
No, unfortunately I don't. I was in the silver section, as it was, which was effectively tin foil, which, I mean, I'm sure it looked good. I don't think foil particularly lends itself hugely well to being waved, just being swatted from all angles by people getting overexcited with foil. But I mean, I don't go to Emirates probably often enough to compare it to what the atmosphere is normally like. But the times I have gone, the atmosphere on Thursday was certainly one of the best, if not the best. It's certainly right from the outset. Obviously, it helped that we started well and we played well. But yeah, as atmospheres go, the pre-match light show, the waving of flags, I think it was really great and really enjoyable to be there.
Good. So they got the crowd going, as it were. Pete, you're a regular. Do you agree with Matt about it being a good atmosphere beforehand? It certainly looked good on the telly, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed that they use single-use plastic sheets for our red flags, which not very environmentally sound there from the Arsenal. But people seem to enjoy it, and we enjoyed receiving text message from people saying things like, "I can see you waving your tinfoil," and it all contributed to a pleasant evening and in a pleasant atmosphere.
Good. Well, let's get into the game itself then, rather than the atmosphere. Team pretty much, I think, as we probably would have expected. It was a Spina in instead of Cech, and some good news in that Costa did not start for Atletico, although of course that doesn't mean they don't have plenty of quality in their lineup. We'll do a quick word on the team if people have anything to say. Matt, we'll come to you first. Anything on the starting 11s?
No, I think it was pretty much as we expected. I think Welbeck deserved to start probably over Iwobi on recent form. Ospina clearly the favoured cup keeper, and obviously good to see Wilshere and Ozil back from their illnesses or injuries. So yeah, the team was strong. I guess the only concern, and which obviously played out by the fact Wenger ignored it, was that the bench didn't look particularly strong. But no, in terms of the starting 11, I think it's probably as strong as he could have been, and we saw that in how well they played, really.
Yeah, no changes at all were there throughout the whole game. I thought I thought I made a mistake when I was going through the commentary on the by the minute side, but no, not one change for Arsenal. Pete, any thoughts on that 11? In fact, why don't we move things along a bit and talk about the first 10 minutes, and I'll come back to Matt for his thoughts, because it was there was a lot going on. Well, there was a lot going on in terms of Madrid anyway. 2 yellow cards for the same player. He got sent off, and then Simeone shortly afterwards had to go to the stands. Any thoughts on that? That must have been quite a sort of first 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of referee I like, and not just because he's sent off an Atletico player, but I like refs who actually take it upon themselves to give early bookings, and they don't go, oh, I'll let that one go just because it's only after 2 minutes, and actually get stuck in there and brandish the yellow card when it's deserved. And after he'd done that, he was. It wasn't his fault that the chap whose name I can't pronounce.
You notice I avoided that as well myself.
Yeah. Later, it's completely Vrashilko's fault. So I thought the referee did really well. Good on him for doing that. I think that shows strong refereeing. People say, "Oh no, you can't." You know, too many times you just see people not give early bookings when they should do, and it was really good to see a referee get it right for once.
Well, it was interesting because before the game, the commentators, and I don't know if you'd have noticed this, it was the same referee that we had for our 2-0 win in Milan, which is a nice way to start the game if you're looking for good omens. Matt, any thoughts on those first 10 minutes? I mean, if the atmosphere was pretty good, that must have ramped it up a little bit.
Yeah, it did. I hope that referee could follow us around, really. He was not taking any nonsense. I think they both were yellow cards, especially the second one. To be on a yellow card and then do a challenge like that is pretty stupid. And then probably even braver to just send Simeone off. It looked, I mean, at the time I didn't really know what it was for. But looking back, like Simeone got pretty aggressive, pretty angry with him, so that was probably deserved too. And yeah, I know people say, we played well because it was 10 versus 11, but even when they had 11 men, we started really well. We had chances. Welbeck whipped in a great ball to Lacazette at the far post, whose volley just glanced off the post. So we started really well regardless. And I think our only real regret should be once they did go down to 10 men and they weren't as organised as they were later in the game, I think we really needed to make that count and get at least a goal, because gradually as the match wore on, they sort of became more sure of themselves and tighter in defence. But yeah, in that period when Simeone got sent off and they went down to 10 men, I think we probably needed to capitalise a lot more than we did.
Yeah, I mean, we won't go through the game bit by bit because essentially it was the same story all the way through, which was that Arsenal dominated. I mean, I'll go to the end first, as it were, because I noted the chances. I mean, the possession was 76% Arsenal. The completed passes was 681 for Arsenal to 169 for Madrid. They had no corners. We had 11, 28 shots to 6. I can't remember if I just said that, but everything pointed to a dominant Arsenal display. Now, yes, it's very important to say we were playing against a 10-man team, and yes, I think it's also important to say they, even though there wasn't much to work on when they had 11 men, just in those first 10 minutes, they seemed to be happy to sit back a little bit. And of course, the onus was on us to attack, and they have such a strong record at home, and we don't have a great record away. Certainly in the league, although of course in Europe we're actually not too bad, slightly weirdly. But the dominance was huge just on the statistical front, and you just wanted those opportunities converted, and of course we got to half time and it was still 0-0. Pete, share that idea of not an opportunity wasted so much, but a frustration perhaps that there wasn't more taken in that first 45?
Yeah, I think it even started before the sending off, actually, with the volley from Lacazette that really should have been a heck of a lot better than it was after some lovely work from Xhaka and Welbeck to, well, pretty much put it on my plate for him. I know it's not easy to take volleys like that, but it was a shame, and we missed a number of other very good chances. I think in some ways, although the sending off, obviously we're all very pleased at the time, looking back, actually maybe it wasn't the best thing to happen, because maybe it did put Atletico in a mind to just defend for the whole game, and maybe that wasn't great for us. Maybe we'd have been better if they had some form of intention to attack and create some space for us rather than just concentrating on entirely keeping us at bay, which they did very successfully through a very well organised defence and what turned out to be a very good keeper in Mr. Oblak.
Yes, he did well, didn't he? A couple of very good saves, I remember. I'm afraid I can't remember exactly who they were from, but certainly watching it, I got the frustration that the chances, they never seemed quite as clear-cut as you'd like them to be. They fell to the wrong person or on the wrong side, or there was someone just off balance or something. It didn't quite work out, which was why it was so nice that when we did score, it was such a nicely taken goal. Fantastic Lacazette head. We'll stay with you then, Pete. What did you? You must have enjoyed that one.
Yes, well, and it's not often you see Lacazette hanging in the air for about 30 seconds.
It was fantastic. I mean, the replays just made it look better. It was great.
Yeah. I have never seen that before, and I'm not sure I'll ever see it again. But marvellous moment. A lovely piece of skill from Jack to get to the byline and get the ball across. And fantastic to see an Arsenal player scoring a goal like that. It certainly doesn't happen that often. The way he got up, beat a lot of very tall, well-organised defenders to nod it in was fantastic.
Yeah, Matt, you would have had a good view of that then from your end, from what you told me earlier. So that must have. I don't know. Were you expecting? Well, tell us about what you thought about the goal, and then if you're expecting us to press on after that.
Yeah, it was a great goal. Nice 1-2. Wilshere putting a great ball in. I missed quite a bit afterwards because someone set off a red smoke grenade, so I'm obviously choking to death. And clearly the prepared for such situations, because about 5 minutes later, what was just a steward who'd taken off his orange jacket arrived in a toy fireman's hat, just this yellow plastic hat on his head, and just started marching through. I mean, I don't know quite what he was doing because the smoke did feel about 5 minutes earlier, but he was asking questions. But eventually, I look back at the game, and I think we played really well after that goal too. We were trying to press on. We were trying to get the second goal. I think we found it tough with them just sitting in and having no space in behind. There was a lot of passing side to side, and we trying to find gaps where there weren't really any. I think our best chance, as we saw the goal, was to get it wide and get it to byline. And we had a lot of stuff down our right-hand side with Bellerin and Ozil, but didn't get too many crosses in. It sort of kept coming back, and we passed it along midfield. I just feel like if Atletico hadn't have gone down to 10 men, we probably might have been happy with 1-0 and just realised that, that's a really good result, because then going into the away leg, if we get a goal, then they need 3. So, but I felt that the fact we had an extra man, the onus was sort of on us to keep pushing. We wanted to really get a dominant position, and that was probably to our detriment in the end. But I don't think you can blame us. I think the way we were playing, and certainly in the crowd, I think most people would want us to push on because it looked like we were capable of scoring again.
Well, so many times, doesn't it, over the years, you I mean, perhaps when it was a slightly different Arsenal team to the one we have now in terms of the quality, if I can put it like that, but you'd see us get the first one, and then we would be able to go on and get a couple. Now, there's a couple of things there. It's not the same Arsenal team, and we're not playing against Atletico, obviously a better team than, say, West Ham, who we did something similar to, just a few days before. We'd had warnings, though, hadn't we? There had been 1 or 2 Atletico chances, and the quality of the players they've got, that they can break away and take a chance, and that's exactly what they did with just a few minutes left. Long ball got behind us, as we've seen happen previously, and Breezen went through and put it home. I mean, it's a bit of a kick in the teeth. Pete, I'll come to you for that one because you would have been at that end of the ground. I mean, and it almost looked like he was going to miss the chance, didn't it? He needed a couple of goes at it, but unfortunately, fortune favoured him, and he was able to get it in.
Yes. Sorry.
Well, I suppose I was wanting
technical problems.
We'll get there. I was wondering your reaction to the goal, really, I suppose, and if it felt like the kick in the teeth, sucker punch that everyone.
Well, it was a real head in hands moment, wasn't it? It was. We had been chasing the game, chasing a second goal, and there had been, and actually maybe looking back, maybe that was the wrong thing to do after we'd gone 1-0 up. Maybe we should have just sat back a bit and let Atletico know that they needed to try and do something. Without an away goal, they were in a bit of trouble at 1-0 down, I think. And so maybe that wasn't the best way to go. But again, actually, a bit of, I hate to say it, but praise to the referee for not giving what wasn't a free kick on Danny Welbeck. And he did that a lot all night. I mean, often in our favour. In that case, it wasn't in our favour, but he spotted the fact it wasn't a free kick. Play went on, and a hopeful punt upfield was met with some disastrous defending. Very unusually in the form of Koscielny, who was really the man responsible for that goal. He had all the time in the world to take on someone he must know pretty well from the French team and just deal with it, and he just didn't at all. And at that point, I think you can't really lay that much blame at either Ospina or Mustafi. However amusing Mustafi looked when he fell over, it really wasn't anything. It wasn't their problem. It was Koscielny should have dealt with that. And as you say, even then, Griezmann needed a couple of attempts at it, and just very disappointing when things were looking so good, and 1-0 would have been such a good result. And yeah, just a real kick in the teeth and a real head in the hands moment for the rest of the game, really.
Really was, wasn't it? And there wasn't really long enough after that we did try, but there was only a few minutes left. There wasn't long enough for us to try and take the lead. So
there was a wonderful Oblak save from a Ramsey header, which actually, looking back, reminds me of a certain goal from this weekend, which I'm sure we'll come on to later. But that was another fantastic save from Oblak, who reminded me. Was it just me, or did he remind you of David Seaman in his? I don't know, something about his gait and his manner. He really made me think about David Seaman for some reason.
I don't know. I was just hoping every time he got near me, sort of fall over. So perhaps I wasn't looking for a reminder in that sense. I was just hoping he'd mess something up. But of course, as you say, he really didn't most of the time. So, well, look, we end 1-1, and I think there's two ways of looking at this. You can look at all the possession we had, everything else, and say that's our chance gone. We should have got some more goals in. We should have. Because I thought we did defend quite well actually when we needed to, but there wasn't very much of it. So that when that opportunity came, it was disappointing to see that the defence not quite be able to do the job. But you can take the chance is gone. We had the home leg first. We've allowed an away goal, all the rest of it. But being optimistic about it, I think there's an argument, which I won't necessarily agree with, to say that look, we've done this once. We showed we were as good as this team. I know there was 10 men rather than 11, but I still saw enough to think we can compete. The players looked capable and able and ready to sort of take on this challenge. I suppose it comes down to, can we score an away goal? And the Atletico record at home is so good. I can't remember the figure now, but they've only conceded something like 4 goals, I think, in the league at home this season, which is obviously a challenge for us. But being optimistic, we get an early goal. In Madrid, things change, and all of a sudden we're in a much better position, because all our goals then, I don't like the phrase away goals count double, because they don't, but once we've got the first one, anyone after that would be very important, should we say. So what we're going to do slightly differently then, we're going to go straight to look ahead to the next game, and we'll get your thoughts and predictions. I'll go first because I've given you my thoughts about it. I'm just going to go for a 1-1 in the 90 minutes, and then obviously it will go to extra time if necessary, if my prediction is correct. I just 1-1. I think we can do it. I think we can defend well enough to keep the Madrid out. So yeah, I'll go for a 1-1. Matt, we haven't heard from you for a while. Any thoughts you'd like to tie up about the first leg, or your thoughts on the second leg, please?
Yeah, my concern probably isn't that we can't score. As you said, I think we showed enough, especially if Mkhitaryan's back, that we can trouble them, we can create chances, and it's just about converting them. My main issue is the defence, because they scored when they weren't even trying to score. They were taking off strikers, they were bringing on defenders, and they would settle in for a 1-0, which would have been a great result for us. So when they are trying to score, I dread to think what will happen. I think, as I said, I think we will score, but we need that to be early, because if at any point we start chasing the game, then on the counter-attack we're a bit of a mess. So I think they cut us apart. I imagine they'll go a bit more attacking, maybe have Costa starting alongside Griezmann. you always think that one of that defence, whether it's Mustafi, Koscielny, whoever, you just feel one of them has an awful mistake in them at any point. Even Ospina. I mean, his distribution was really good against last Thursday, but there was just some moments where he got a bit close. So I just think Atletico are too experienced in the later stages of European competition. I think they're too clever for us, really. Well, I think Atletico will win 2-1. I just think our defence isn't good enough to keep them out. I think they're probably better in the late stages of knockout tournaments for us. I back them to see a lead out over us, so I'll go 2-1 for them.
Okay, very good. Just to catch up from last week, none of us, we all thought Arsenal would win, so none of us got any points in this game last week. We all thought it would be close, but not quite as close as it turned out to be. And in the United game, which we'll come on to later, Matt and I got a point for saying that we would lose, and Pete, I'm afraid, his optimism didn't pay off. He thought we might get a draw. Pete, what are your thoughts then about this trip to Madrid on Thursday?
It so nearly did, though. It so nearly did.
You're
got a point that neither of you did.
This is true, but you didn't. I'm afraid.
No, I didn't. Never mind.
That's
morally,
well, you can claim that if you like. But let's focus on Madrid then. What's your thoughts there?
Well, it's I'm going to be optimistic. I think that's the only way to look at it. I mean, we've got a good chance. We have a chance of going through into this final, and I don't think we should feel gloomy about that. I think we should look forward and say, yes, we can do this. How we do it is the question. Is do we do it by desperately trying not to concede for a lot of the game and then scoring late, or do we try and get at Atletico as early as possible? I'm really not sure. It's quite an interesting situation, isn't it? Because with the scores level, but them going through without scoring, it's interesting to see. It will be interesting to see how up for the game they are in some ways. Maybe they will again feel a little reserved about things, which might make it harder for us to have a go at them and leave ourselves exposed on the break. So maybe a better approach is to try and keep things as tight as possible for quite a while. And make sure that if we are able to score goals towards the end of the game, then that's what takes us through. I'm going to be optimistic, and I know it's a completely ridiculous scoreline to predict, but I'm going to say 2-2.
2-2. Well, that would do the job, wouldn't it? And it's not, we've all gone for something around there. We're not talking about a goal fest either way. I suppose 2-2 would be a little more than average, but we're still talking about it staying pretty close between the teams, all of us.
I don't know if we mentioned, of course, that it looks like Mkhitaryan will be back, and I think he may well make the difference for us. I think maybe his presence was what we were missing last week.
Well, let's move on to that then, because so thank you both for your predictions there. Let's move on. We'll do this more briefly if you like. We'll do our Premier League campaign such as it is, and we went to Man United yesterday, and as we've alluded to, lost 2-1. 8 changes made from the league from the previous game. Lots of youngsters, debut or two, some other players who hadn't played very much. Mkhitaryan came back and was one of the highlights, I think, of the game. So we lost 2-1, but it was level until injury time when Fellaini got his head on the end of another cross, and this one tucked into the corner. I mean, we don't have to go through the game bit by bit, because what I think is worth noting, though, is what a nice, pleasant, certainly from my point of view, surprise it was. I thought it was an excellent performance, all things considered, considering it was a cobbled together team, for want of a better word, not in terms of injuries or anything, just in terms of them not being used to playing with each other. A number of players we could pick out, I think, is doing particularly well, and perhaps we that might be the approach we have to this. Where should we start with this, Matt? Did you, like me, when you saw that starting 11, have some concerns about what could happen, without mentioning particular historical events at Old Trafford? Because I certainly had some doubts.
I did. It's a very inexperienced team, but one I think we probably had to play. I probably would have rested Bellerin too, considering we have no other right back. But there we go. My main thought from the game is, why on earth have we had to watch Mustafi all season when Mavropanos, appears to be the greatest centre-back of all time. He was unreal. And we've had to watch Mustafi slipping and sliding away all season like a complete moron. And we've had Mavropanos wrapped up for no one to see. I hope Mavropanos is rewarded, not necessarily on Thursday, but when the new manager comes with more opportunities, because I think that was really promising, especially in his first game in that situation. I thought he was great.
Yeah, he's certainly one of the players who stood out. I mean, I had a concern about, particularly after we conceded relatively early from a slightly fortuitous Pogba goal, that things could go badly wrong. But I thought the character they showed was brilliant, and more than just the character, actually, the quality. Again, the passing was there. Maitland-Niles was excellent and was picked out by a number of people as being just an excellent performance. But I think you could pick out a few. Mkhitaryan, as I've said, I thought for one of the older hands was exceptional. His goal was a great finish. I mean, he got a bit more space than I think Man United would have liked to have left him. But Pete, anything you'd like to say on any of them, or indeed anyone else you'd like to pick out from what was, I thought, generally a quite positive day, despite the scoreline?
Yeah, it was. It was actually quite enjoyable, and I wasn't at all worried at seeing the team. I thought that's exactly what I wanted to see. As I said, I really don't care about these last two games, and yeah, it would have been bad if we'd suffered a really humiliating defeat. But why not give these players a go and see what happens? It really doesn't matter. And it was fantastic to see the way they reacted. I thought they all really, really stepped up and gave a very good account of themselves. And it was great to see Mkhitaryan back, and he was really up for it. And very much enjoyed his contribution. It does make me wonder whether he can make the difference next week. So, and the winning goal by United, which I say I morally deserve that point, because well, for a start, Ospina should have saved it, and it was fortunate, to say the least.
Yes, it was a little bit, but I mean, there was a bigger picture, wasn't there? The intensity we would expect in a game between these two in April just wasn't there. I mean, you could tell that from the first 10-20 minutes. It was quite a relaxed atmosphere for all concerned. I mean, it doesn't mean the players weren't trying, of course they were, but there wasn't that edge that you would expect. Let's be frank, United don't have that much to play for. They've had a pretty good season, considering. I mean, obviously City are miles ahead, but they're the best of the rest, and they're in the cup final. But they didn't, there wasn't much going on. But so I think fairly quickly for me it was a case of, well, let's enjoy this. And I agree with you. I found it quite an enjoyable game, and the league season is where it is, and we know there's not going to be any surprises there in terms of our position now. But that takes perhaps some pressure off. But I thought there was plenty going on there. I mean, Matt, I have to ask you about one of the less shining performances. Granit Xhaka has had quite a lot of stick for his performance. Would you like to make any comments on his? Well, he was lucky not to be sent off, to be honest. From looking at the 2 yellows he could have had, particularly when you compare with the events in the Madrid game. What would you like to say, if anything, about his performance?
I thought someone was winding me up when they texted me to say Xhaka was captain. I actually couldn't believe it, but I mean, I'm going to forgive him for clattering into Sanchez. He does. I think we can write that one off. That one's allowed. For their goal, he decided he was just going to throw himself and slide in, but he sold himself very early, so took himself completely out the game. No, he probably wasn't great, but I think he has overall been a lot better recently. I wish he would stop shooting, because he's starting to really annoy me even more, because he's actually getting worse. But no, I mean, I still don't really know what he does beyond passing quite well. I think he needs some other midfielders around him who are defensively a bit more capable and offer more going forward. But I think he's solid enough passing it side to side and keeping it moving. But yeah, I don't think he justifies the amount of starts he's had this season at all.
Okay, interesting points, and obviously things are going to be changing over the summer. It'll be interesting to see if he's subject to that change, if I can put it that way. Pete, anything else you'd like to say on him or on this game in particular before we move on?
Yeah, I didn't think he really deserved the abuse he came in from on Sky for that
Graham Souness
performance.
particularly was after him, wasn't he?
It was harsh, and yeah, he, he's the most senior player out there. Absolutely everything is going through him. I mean, he's surrounded by people who are, enthusiastic, but I think it's very unfair to blame him for, and he had a vast improvement in the second half anyway. So I would defend him a bit and say I didn't think, if he and again, it was a game I didn't care less about. So if he performs well on Thursday, then I will never think about that again.
Yes, everything is, of course, focused on Thursday, but let's very quickly look at the league table. We stay 6th. We're 9 behind Chelsea. We are 3 ahead of Burnley, which brings us nicely onto our next game. Our game after the Madrid game, which is the game against Burnley, Arsene Wenger's last home game as Arsenal manager, or last game at the Emirates. I will go first on this one. I've said 3-0 to Arsenal. I think if that isn't enough motivation for Arsenal to put in a good performance at home, then I don't know what is. 3-0. I've just picked because it seems like a reasonably good score. And Burnley, of course, are not a bad team. We can see that in terms of their league position. So I'll go with that. Where should we go? Let's go to Matt. Your thoughts on a prediction for this one?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what kind of mood we're in. Obviously, heavily depends on Thursday, how everyone is going into the game. I think Burnley's level might drop. I think they've pretty much secured 7th in European football. Obviously, as good as it's going to get for them this season. So I think it might be fair enough to assume they might not be as impressive as they have so far this season. As you said, I think the players will want to do well in our last home game of the season. When we actually started playing against West Ham, we tore them apart pretty easily. So I will go 4-1 Arsenal.
4-1. Okay, and Pete, then you're. I know you don't care, but let's have a prediction anyway.
Well, I do care.
All right.
I do care. As we can no longer finish 8th, I really don't want to finish 7th. So I do care about this, and it's Arsene Wenger's last home game. So
of course,
yes. To win it, I do care. In fact, I would be really disappointed actually if we don't win this game. And I will say 2-0.
2-0. Okay, pretty straightforward. That's excellent. Okay. Well, thank you for that. We've done things slightly out of order, and we can continue to do that because I did have 3 other little things to mention. I'm not sure. We'll save the nicest bit till last. I was going to mention the fact that Man United were quite classy yesterday. I have to say, giving Arsene Wenger a little presentation on the pitch. I'm just imagining a few years ago if he'd had to stand between Alex Ferguson and Jose Mourinho for a presentation. So I thought it was. I'm sure we could be snide about it, but I thought it was quite good. So I'm just going to mention that. The second thing, and I'm only going to draw people's attention to this because it may be of interest, is something called the Ineptitude Index that the Guardian do every year. Have you seen this before? It's quite funny. You get points for foul throws and points for not being able to pass to your own player, and that kind of thing, missed penalties and stuff like that. This idea that these are all it's only a bit fun, but the idea that basic stuff that football clubs should be able to do, which you lose points if you can't. And Arsenal finished 3rd in that, which is not good. I just thought I'd mention. Well, yeah, you could put it that. Watford, weirdly, are way ahead of the rest of the way they do that. I won't go through it all the way they do the points, but normally the team at the top are one that's getting relegated. Stoke are in 2nd place, for example, and then we are just behind Stoke, just ahead of Brighton and West Ham. So,
generous.
Yeah, so have a look at it if you like. It's tongue in cheek, but it's quite amusing.
So can we just hope Watford improve tonight, because it would be quite amusing to watch Tottenham fail to qualify for the Champions League should they have a bit of a bad run in these last few games.
Yes, unlikely, but it would be something. Well, if you want that kind of thing to enjoy it, there is an article in the Guardian today about Spurs having, the fact that they their new stadium's costing them more than they thought it was going to cost them. Yes. So there's a bit of Schadenfreude to be had there, perhaps. And the last thing I was going to say, to finish on a high, was it was nice to see that on the game on Thursday, I think it was Santi Cazorla in the stand, And apparently he'd done a bit of running and a bit of ball work before the game.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was, in case anyone had missed that, I just thought that was worth noting.
Lovely, Santi.
Yeah. Nice to see that. I mean, whether he's actually going to be on a pitch again for Arsenal anytime soon, I've no idea. But it's just a nice thing to note, I think. Anyway, I'm not sure there's anything else I've got to say. Thank you both for your help as we try this brave new technological world. Thank you to people listening. I'm going to try and edit the bits out that you won't hear, if that makes sense. So hopefully this is going to come across as quite smooth. And we'll be back next week. But for the moment, Pete, thank you very much for your time.
Can I put in a technical mistake here so that you have to edit it out?
You can. I mean, you know. I'm going to. It's going to take me a while anyway. I think we'll see how it goes. Anyway, Pete,
thank you very
for your
much,
time.
Matt.
Thank you,
Thank you very
and
much.
Matt, thanks for joining us too.
Thank you. Fingers crossed this week, and we shall see how it goes.
Well, fingers crossed for Thursday. I'm hoping if all goes on Thursday, we'll have a joyous pod next week, and we won't care how many technical issues there may be. But that will be nice to hear. And anyway, thank you both for being there. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back next week. Take care. Bye bye.